Okay, so we'll start. Hi everyone again, welcome. I'm really happy to see so many people interested in this topic today. Again, for the people that were not here the first time, there is a public chat on the top left of the screen where you can post questions or address any concern or issue that you may have. We'll address all the questions during the Q&A session at the end. And under the public chat, you will also see a shared notes link. That is where my colleague Dorina will be gathering the questions and also the answers to them, and also some other useful links that will be sent to you afterwards. All right, let's start. I hope everyone is settled in. All right, so today we'll talk about the latest migration tools for migrating from Confluence to XWiki. Today we'll present especially, so first we'll just talk about, we'll just say a few words about XWiki to introduce ourselves. We will focus mainly on the latest tools introduced in 2023, and I'll give a bit of context on what we are referring to with latest tools, because we had some tools in the past that were improved to make the migration as easy as possible. Then we'll look into exactly how to migrate from Confluence to XWiki, both looking at prerequisites and a live demo. And then we'll have a live Q&A session where, again, you can post questions on the chat, or you would also be able to open the microphone and address a question live if you wish. So to introduce ourselves, I'm Stefana Nazare. I'm a product owner of the Pro Applications and Cloud at XWiki. I've been at XWiki for 6 years, and in the last 4 years, I've been specializing on migrations, especially migrations from Confluence to XWiki. In these years, I offered migration consulting to approximately 150 organizations, and still doing that nowadays. And of course, XWiki SS is the home company that is offering this webinar. XWiki SS is the creator or home for XWiki, the open source product, and CryptPad. CryptPad is an encrypted alternative to Google Drive, you could say. It offers the option to edit in real time Office documents, but also Kanban boards, and other types of documents. It has also seen a significant growth in the latest years, and if you want to try it out, please feel free to do so. XWiki SS as a company has been around for almost 20 years. We offer a full set of professional services, everything from support to training, consulting, data migrations, and others. And we have approximately 600 clients that we have offered professional services to. First, before looking exactly at how to migrate from Confluence to XWiki, we should ask ourselves why we should migrate to XWiki and maybe not another tool. First, about why XWiki would be a great alternative to Confluence, we should look at the open source concern in this matter. As you probably all know, Confluence is a proprietary software and XWiki is an open source one. Being an open source product, XWiki offers significant benefits to anyone using it. First, there is absolutely no vendor lock-in. You have full freedom on choosing what vendor you choose for your services, but also what type of deployment you prefer. For example, if you prefer to host XWiki on your premise, on your servers, you're free to do that and will always be. Then you can contribute to the product, and we have numerous contributors that are actively helping on developing new tools and improving the product for everyone. And of course, it's much more transparent. We also have, we're very transparent about what we plan to do with the product. We never plan to make it not open source, and we try to stay as fair as possible to all of our customers. Aside from the open source argument, XWiki, from a technological point of view, offers more structure, specifically through the structured data, also called the app within minutes application. It allows you to create, again, structures of data and functionally organize your data based on metadata or properties, also known. For example, if you'd like to have a repository of documents and you'd like to organize them by a department or responsible person to review a document, you can do that very easily in a few minutes, as the name suggests, for app within minutes. And they can also be used for more advanced use cases, such as connecting to or getting data from a database. More than this, in terms of extensibility, we offer more than 800 extensions that can be used to configure and adjust your wiki however you see fit for your use case. And finally, at XWiki, we take security very seriously. We constantly check for vulnerabilities, and we have dedicated time both for the product and the applications that we recommend to fix any vulnerability that we find. Also, it is very scalable. XWiki is being used in instances with tens of thousands of users and also hundreds of gigabytes of data, and it can be easily scaled for really large usage. And finally, as kind of a summary to everything said above, XWiki is very reliable, both from the technological point of view, but also from the open source and management point of view, to say so. Right, now that we know a bit about XWiki as well, maybe especially for the people that did not really know about this tool, let's look at the latest tools introduced in 2023. And here I would need to make a bit of a disclaimer. So we did have the tools to migrate from Confluence to XWiki for a very long time. We have been welcoming users that wanted to migrate from Confluence to XWiki way before the latest years. However, due to Confluence's change in strategy with discontinuing the server option, we did see that more and more users wanted to migrate and wanted to migrate quickly to XWiki. So therefore, initially, we developed a migrator that allowed you to migrate one space at a time. So you were able to export one space from Confluence and import it into XWiki. And then we also started developing certain macros that were used, especially in the context of this migration, of migrating from Confluence to XWiki. This year, we focused on making the tools as easy to use as possible, but also as efficient as possible, with the star of the day, to say so, being the Confluence Migrator Pro, which was very recently introduced. So the Confluence Migrator Pro now allows you to migrate multiple spaces at a time. This is the tool that we will see today. And this is the tool that XWiki recommends for migrating from Confluence to XWiki. So compared to the old one that allowed you to migrate one space at a time, this migrator allows you to migrate multiple spaces in one batch. And more than that, you can actually run multiple migrations in parallel. So for example, you can organize your migrations per department and have the people that are responsible for each department run their migrations in parallel. And we have introduced a much simplified UI that allows you to migrate in 2 steps, which is much more efficient than before. Another very important tool that was introduced this year is the Task Manager Pro. We have received numerous requests to support task migration and also the macros associated with it, such as task report. And because we value a lot the input from our customers or potential customers in the community, we made all the efforts to release this product. So the Task Manager Pro supports migration of Confluence tasks and task report macros. So if you have tasks created in Confluence and macros associated to it, after the migration, they will be displayed the same in XWiki. More than that, it provides more macros than Confluence that can be used for filtering the tasks using numerous criteria. And also, as something additional to what Confluence is offering, you also have a detailed task page that you can use to add more information to a task, such as an image, a description, a progress bar, and so on. And finally, I told you previously that we have been working for a few years on macros that are commonly used in the context of migrating from Confluence to XWiki. This year, we have introduced 3 more macros: the recently updated user lister and expand. And we have also worked on improvements for multiple other macros, such as attachments, recently updated view file, Microsoft Streams, column, and status. And we'll see all of them during the demo. Okay, so speaking of the demo, we'll get into that in just a minute, but first we need to look at the prerequisites and methods to migrate in general. So kind of independent from what tool we choose, there are a few things to consider when migrating our documentation system or internet or whatever use case we have for Confluence. First of all, of course, we need to make a decision on the deployment of the new system. In the case of XWiki, as mentioned previously, you can choose to deploy it on your servers or with a provider of your choice. Or you can also use XWiki Cloud for your new system. Aside from the choice of deployment, we also advise on thinking about the users and the authentication method first. For example, you can choose to either migrate the users with your data or not. You can choose if you have, for example, a sort of Active Directory or any sort of user directory or SSO system connected to Confluence, you can choose to do that with XWiki and not migrate the users. So that's a question that needs to be addressed before the migration is done. Then you would need to have admin access to your Confluence instance or an XML server backup. So the tool that we're about to present works with XML backups, not database exports. So even if you don't have maybe admin access to your Confluence instance, if you receive an XML server backup from the administrator, that would be sufficient. And then also on the prerequisite side, we advise our clients to think about their expectations in terms of history, retention, and other metadata. You can choose to maintain the history and the authors of pages, both creator and last author. So you can maintain that or not. And then finally, we believe it's very important to look at the extensions and macros that you're using in Confluence. Again, at XWiki, we do offer most of the used macros that Confluence has, but there may still be macros that you are using in Confluence that do not yet exist in XWiki. And we'll see in a moment how that looks after the migration and what we can do about that. More specifically, at this step, if you would decide to move on with the migration from Confluence to XWiki, we usually advise people to look at the macro usage list in Confluence and either send it to us or compare it with the page that we have online on our website that lists all the macros that are available. All right. And now that we have a bit of context and information on XWiki and the process to migrate, I'm going to demonstrate how migration can be achieved. Okay, all right. So here we have a standard XWiki instance. This is a cloud instance of version 14.10.16. At XWiki, we have both recommended versions, so the ones that are recommended for production usage, and stable versions that are generally intended for deployment. If you choose to migrate from Confluence to XWiki, we highly advise you to use a recommended version, also mentioned as LTS, long-term support, on the XWiki.org website, so that you're sure that you benefit from all the recent fixes. So here we have a standard XWiki instance. First, we need to install the extensions that we need. So we're going to go into administration, extensions, and then the first application that we need is the Confluence Migrator. We already have it installed here, but we'll show it. So here is the Confluence Migrator Pro. Aside from the Confluence Migrator, we would need to install the Pro macros that contain most of the macros used in the context of a migration. And finally, we also need the Task Manager application if we have tasks or task report macros being used in Confluence. So these three applications would be necessary. They are Pro applications. They are developed by a dedicated team within XWiki SIS, and they are packaged under a license. So their code is open source, as everything that we produce. But these applications are packaged under a license. Their license and support is included in any support plan. But they can also be purchased individually, especially if you are in maybe a proof of concept stage and you don't have a support contract yet. However, for trial purposes, we do offer trial licenses. And in the license section, you can obtain trials for all of your Pro applications, including the Confluence Migrator Pro. Okay, let's look now at the Confluence Migrator Pro. All right, so this is the homepage of the new migrator. We have, again, roughly 2 steps, and we'll see them right away. One thing that users would need to complete just once, not before any migration, would be the prerequisites. We advise allocating enough memory to the machine that XWiki is running on, so that you would have sufficient resources to process the migration. Then we advise on deactivating notifications and a few listeners. For example, if we click on this one, it's very easy to deactivate them. We would just need to go to the dedicated page and deactivate them. And then when we go back to the Confluence homepage, we see that that was ticked. So let's finish the prerequisites, and after the migrations are all executed, the listeners and the notifications should be enabled back. Okay. Right, and we should now see that these have been completed. All right. So this is again just a one-time thing before starting the migrations, and then they should be activated again once migrations are done. Then when we actually start migration, now what we call a migration is usually referring to a batch of spaces, because again, with this new tool, you're now able to migrate multiple spaces at once. We have attached here a Confluence backup, so that XML server backup that we talked about previously. You can choose to either attach a backup that has all the spaces, or you can just also attach a space export or a partial space export. You don't necessarily need to use the full Confluence backup. For example, if you have migrated most of the data and you'd like to only migrate some pages on some changes on a few pages, you can just export that page or those pages and use that package as the starting point here. To demonstrate the full capabilities, we will use now this backup package. So we just need to select it and name our migration. So let's call it webinar demo. Then here you have some advanced properties that you can configure if you wish. There is a default configuration, but you can also change it. For example, the blog post migration and the permissions migration is currently a beta feature. So you can choose to not migrate blog posts, for example. You can also choose to not migrate users if you not migrate rights or users if you prefer to connect XWiki to another user directory. And also you can choose to preserve version and author or not. So these are all the configurations that you can adjust. And then once the configuration is saved, at this step of the migration, the backup package is being analyzed. More specifically, the entities XML is being analyzed. And our migrator is going to produce a list of all the spaces that are found in that backup package. And once that list is available, we'll be able to choose from it the spaces that we want to import in this migration. Again, as mentioned previously, we usually advise on having kind of a structure in mind. For example, trying to organize the spaces per department or per team that is ready to migrate. And with that organization, you can run one migration for each department or each organization. And here is our list. By default, it's ordered alphabetically. Here we also have user spaces, personal spaces that have the key with this format. And then here we have normal content that have the key with usually a shortcut. You can select all of them or deselect. You can also search for a certain space key. Again, this is searching for, this is listing the keys. And let's say that, for example, we want to migrate this space and this one, let's say. But you can choose, again, as many spaces as you wish. Just if you're running XWiki locally, especially, make sure that you have enough resources allocated to the instance. So once we confirm our selection, at this step, the pages are being first imported, and then they are going to be moved into the right location. If we look here at the job log, we see that the pages are being created. And if we have more history entries in a page, we will also see the document has been updated. For example, this page, tasks, was created and then updated twice because there were two additional versions of the page. And we said when we configured the migration that we want to maintain the history. After the migration is done and the pages are moved into the right location, we have this report. We see here the pages that were imported in their hierarchy, the same hierarchy that they had in Confluence. So we can unpack the tree and make sure that all the pages are there. Then we have the list of non-critical issues that occurred, critical issues, issues that could not be classified, and then the full log of the migration. Here it happened that we didn't have any issue, but we may face some issues. For example, if a page was deleted, that will be seen in the logs, or if a page in Confluence contains a sort of syntax that is not supported, that will also appear in the logs, and you will see exactly the page that is affected. And we can see an example in this regard. So we see this report, and we believe sometime you may want to go back to this report. So if we click here on View All Migrations, we can see all the migrations that were executed and their status. For example, if you would be running multiple migrations in parallel, you will see here the status for all the migrations, and the same can be seen on the homepage of the migrator. So right here, we can see all the previous migrations. And if we look at a migration that was done in the past, here we had some errors, and we can look at an example. For example, here it found a couple of pages without a name and a title. And here we had also some pages that were deleted without, and the task manager was not able to find the tasks associated to them. And then based on the page ID where the issue was found, we can go back into Confluence and fix those issues or make a decision about what should be done with those pages. And the same the same errors can also be found in the logs right here. All right, so now that we see how migration works, again, very quick and easy, we can look at some examples of pages. Here, for example, we have a demo home. Here we have just a couple of macros, tip and info, that, as you can see, were successfully migrated and are displayed as they were in Confluence. Here we have an example of an article that was also migrated, including all of the formatting, tasks, mentions, images, tags. So all of this is successfully migrated. History as well. Right. Here we have another sample. Here we have a code macro that we can see was also successfully migrated. Here we have another page demonstrating the task macro. So here we have the inline tasks, as we call them, also called to-do lists. So you can just list items like this, assign it to someone by mentioning them, and also introduce a due date for that task. And here we have a task report macro that was also imported, and as we can see, it's displayed as expected. Here we have all the tasks in this space, in the test space, that are done. And here are the two tasks that are done. We can also interact with the task from a task report. For example, if we want to unmark it, we can do that from the task report. And then when we refresh the page, it will not appear there anymore because, again, this task report is looking at the done tasks from this space. I mentioned previously that you can also have a full page in a way for a task, and this is what it looks like. If we are to look in edit mode, you can give your task, of course, a description, but more than that, you can assign it to a project. You can create projects in the task manager administration. Let's open that as well. You can set a priority, a status, progress, that can be, for example, let's say 60%. You can set an assignee, mention a completion date, and then you also have a full description window where you can write any text you wish, but you can also insert macros, images, tables, and so on. So you can have a more detailed description for this task. Now we can see here we have the progress bar. So all of the tasks that are created also have this type of page, and they can be used in this manner with having detailed descriptions, or they can be used as task lists just to have a very quick description of the macro there, of the task there. I mentioned that we have the administration of the task manager as well. Here, as you can see, we can add projects that tasks can be assigned to. We can also add other statuses, other priorities, and we can decide upon the format that will be used to display and store dates in the task manager. Right, looking at, again, other macros, here we have an example of the recently updated macro, also directly imported from Confluence. Here we have 3 styles. If we are to look at the syntax as well, we have 3 themes, concise, social, and sidebar. And we can see that they were successfully imported and also displayed as expected. Here we have an example of the expand macro, also imported from Confluence and is displayed in the same manner on XWiki. Here we have more examples of the common note, tip, info, success, warning, and error macros, along with the panel macros that can be customized to change their color. And here are the info and success macros with the title as well. This is an example of the attachments macro, again imported from Confluence, and it behaves in the same manner as it did in Confluence in XWiki. And finally, we have two examples of the draw.io and Glyphy macros. So here, by default, the draw.io and Glyphy diagrams are imported, but not converted directly. If you wish to further edit a diagram that was imported from Confluence, you can convert it into an XWiki diagram, and then you will be able to further edit it. So here, if we go into our newly converted diagram, we can further edit it as needed with the draw.io editor. As the same for Glyphy. And finally, we're going to look at what happens if we have macros that are not supported. So as mentioned previously, we do our best efforts to support as many macros as possible. However, some macros may not be that used, and if that is the case, maybe we did not have a request for it, or we didn't have the chance to prioritize it. If there are macros that are used in Confluence and don't yet exist in XWiki, at the migration step, their syntax will still be imported, but they will not be displayed. So we will receive a message as we have right here. For example, the contributors macro is not supported in XWiki. And if we look at the syntax, we can see that we have the syntax of the contributors macro, but we don't have the code to display it to say so. So if that's the case, if you realize that you have macros that are in this situation and are important for you, you can choose to either modify pages to erase them, or you can replace them with another similar macro from XWiki. Or you can choose to have the, sorry, let me go into actual WYSIWYG editing. Okay, so you can either choose to erase it, or you can replace it with another similar macro. Or you can contact us and we can evaluate the development for that specific macro. Because if you run the migration and you don't have the display for the macro yet, if that macro is developed afterwards and installed on your platform, the macros that you have imported will appear because the syntax is there. So there are multiple options in this regard. Also, as part of consulting, we can look into more personalized options for your use case. All right, so that's usually what we how we address macros. Again, most of the macros are most of the most commonly used macros are available, and we can look into fixing any issues that may occur. We can also analyze your list. So if you would like to know exactly what macros are supported and not, you can also send us your list of macros, and we will give you the exact input for each one of them. All right, so we saw what it's like to migrate with a new migrator, and some examples of data that was migrated and macros. Now we can go back to the presentation. All right. We already spoke a bit about the next steps, but just to mention them more clearly. So we are still working on improvements for this use case for the Confluence migration. The Confluence Migrator has been improved to handle blog posts and permissions, but currently it's in a beta state. We don't really recommend it for production usage, only for can only be used for testing. Then we're also working on 2 new configurations for the Task Manager Pro to decide where you would like your task pages to be created and if you'd like them to be hidden from the tree, from the navigation tree or not. On the general migration part, we're also working on maintaining the image size that was set in Confluence. And finally, we're working continuously on improvements for the Pro macros, both for new requests, but especially at the moment on stabilizing or improving existing macros. Again, we kind of mentioned here and there about what XWiki can offer, but in more details now. So XWiki is offering a full set of professional services to migrate from Confluence to XWiki if you'd like our assistance. So first, we offer services to assist you in a migration project. For example, aside from actually migrating the data, we can also work on right setup, modifying the UI to better fit your branding, development of new features, training for both administrators, developers, and users, and other general tasks for a seamless migration. As mentioned previously, we can also develop macros upon request or new features upon request. So if there is maybe a plugin or macro that you're using very often on Confluence and you see that does not exist in XWiki, please don't hesitate to contact us and we can look into any option for that specific need. Aside from professional services, we also offer hosting in our cloud. This offers, of course, the benefit of not having any concern for infrastructure and also free yearly upgrades and daily backups. But being an open source product, this does not mean that you have any lock-in. Actually, the other way around. If you use XWiki in our cloud and at any point you decide to either migrate on-premise or migrate to another tool, you will have access and will be able to migrate all of your data and code without any restriction. We also don't restrict the features of the product or the extensions between cloud and on-premise. So whether if you choose to deploy XWiki in our cloud or on-premise, you will have the same product. And finally, and probably most important on the long run, we offer technical support to assist you with the daily usage of your wiki, both for on-cloud and on-premise. We have a very extensive and a very well-experienced support team that is offering technical support and maintenance for hundreds of clients, and they are the ones that make sure that you have a smooth process with XWiki, and any issue that may occur is addressed either with a fix if it's a bug or with a workaround or assistance in this regard. More specifically on the Confluence migration use case, for Confluence migration use case, we recommend the gold or platinum levels, being a more advanced use case and also offering the appropriate level of benefits for this use case. And this is also why the Confluence Migrator Pro that we saw today is included as a license and support in the gold and platinum support plans, whether they are on-premise or in our cloud. But being a Pro application can also be purchased individually through the XWiki store. And we will see right away that we have some links in this regard as well. And one final mention on the Confluence Migrator Pro. Being a Pro application, again, can be tested in a trial. In trial mode, there are some limitations in the sense that you can migrate one space per migration and up to 30 documents. So if you're using the application in trial mode, you will see this limitation. The trial is normally available for 1 month. And if you have any other questions or concerns about the tool, we're also always happy to respond. Speaking about the links that we mentioned earlier, here we have a list of useful links for the Confluence Migrator Pro. This is the link on our store. Same for the Task Manager and Pro macros. Here is a link to book a call directly with us if you'd like to discuss your migration use case, or you can contact us at contact@xwiki.com. And we'll be happy to address any question. And finally, we're very happy to announce that due to this webinar and the general interest in migrating from Confluence to XWiki, starting from today until the end of November, we will have a discount of 15% for any gold online purchase. In other words, for purchasing support or XWiki Cloud online, you will be able to use this discount code, Gold Confluence Migration, with each word with starting capital letter, and you will receive a 15% discount no matter the number of users. All right, I hope you enjoyed the presentation and I hope it answered maybe a few questions. Now I would be happy to move into the Q&A. I'm going to start with the, I'm going to take them from the shared notes and I see Dorina is adding the questions from the chat there, so thank you very much. All right. So let's start with the questions that we have received before the webinar that we'll answer. So first, how do I test the new migrator? So as just mentioned, the new migrator can be installed from the extensions manager and the trial license can be applied. The trial license does have the limitation of allowing users to migrate one space and 30 documents at a time, and is available for 1 month. Next question, what's the difference between Confluence Migrator and Confluence Migrator Pro? So the Confluence Migrator the Confluence Migrator is the old tool that I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation. It was the tool that allowed you to migrate one space at a time. It is no longer supported because we have focused on developing the new Confluence Migrator and offering support on it. It is still available, can be used. It's not recommended by XWiki SIS, but can be used especially for testing purposes. The main difference being that the old migrator allows you to migrate one space at a time. The new migrator allows you to migrate multiple spaces at a time, including some new types of data, such as permissions and blog posts, which again will be soon released as recommended. Okay. Another question that we received was if we have the task list macro supported. Yes, we also saw it during the demo. So we support both the task list and the task report macro from Confluence. And if you have those macros being used in Confluence and you migrate them to XWiki, they will display in XWiki as they did in Confluence. Another question that we received was what issues should we expect during migration? So the most common types of issues that we see are related to either a page being deleted on Confluence, because here it's mostly a matter of how the entities XML is being produced. So when a page is deleted from Confluence, there is still a trace of that page being left in the entities XML, so XWiki will see it and try to import it, but there will actually be no content or attachments there. So that page will not be imported, and we saw that during the demo. Another common error that may occur is related to the syntax that is used in Confluence. If you're using a special plugin, maybe to have some sort of block editing or a particular type of editing, that may produce a syntax that is not that is not supported by XWiki, and the page could be modified either on the Confluence side or on XWiki side to, it can be recreated on XWiki side. And finally, another type of issue that you may see, but it's also quite similar to the first one. If attachments are deleted, same thing, they will throw an error. XWiki will try to import them but not find them. And of course, if you will produce a backup package without attachments, that is usually something available in Confluence. You will probably see a lot of errors that attachments could not be imported. That's perfectly normal if the attachments were not in the package. Okay, let's see. Another question that we received was, where can I purchase the app? So the simplest way, and maybe let's actually share the screen again. Okay. So if you have installed, so if you have your XWiki instance and you have installed the extensions, you can see the documentation on our store. So here is the XWiki store where all the Pro applications are listed. In the Confluence Migrator application page, we will find the full documentation, also addressing certain edge cases and how to handle them. Here is also for this application, but also all the props where you will see the versions and the bugs fixed in each version, and also the pricing tab. As mentioned previously, the Confluence Migrator Pro is included in any gold and platinum support or cloud plan, but can also be purchased separately. This is the individual purchase plan. It does not have a price per user. This is just a price per year because in practice, it's usually an application that customers use for a couple of weeks and not much more. In comparison, the other Pro applications, such as the Task Manager, all the other Pro applications are included in the Silver, Gold, and Platinum support plans, and can also be purchased individually, but depend on the number of users, and we expect them to be used constantly. So back to the purchasing question, once you have installed any Pro application, not only the Confluence Migrator, you can go into licenses, and here you can purchase with this link. So clicking on the purchase or extend license, depending if you have a trial or not, you can click on that. You will be redirected to the store where you can select the level that you wish. For example, if we go to the Task Manager, here we can select the number of users, and then you will be redirected to the shop where you will be able to complete the order. This is an example of an order, and again, for purchasing cloud and support online, you can benefit from the 15% discount. To purchase cloud online, you can create a cloud instance from try.xwiki.com. So here you can create a cloud instance. We already have here a cloud instance, and if you go here to buy XWiki Cloud, you will be redirected again to the shop where you will be able to complete your purchase. And you can select the level and the number of users and the period of engagement, with 1 year being the most economical. And the discount code that we mentioned previously will be added in the cart. And then on the all right, and then if we want to purchase only support online, so we have deployed XWiki on premise and we want to purchase only support, we will go to also licenses here and select XWiki Pro. XWiki Pro is another name for XWiki support. It includes, again, all the licenses for all the Pro apps, aside from the Confluence Migrator Pro, which is included only at the Gold and Platinum level. And the same if you wish to purchase support, which includes support and all the apps, you would be able to click and be redirected to the store, where you can make your selection, and then to the shop where you can finish the purchase. Okay. Right, another question that we have is if the PDF export of multiple pages is supported. Yes, so now we have a new tool for PDF export, and you can select multiple pages, and you can create a client-side export with a selection. Sure. Yep. So you can make a selection and export only those. Let me just let's see an example, but not take all the pages. Okay, guess this should work. Okay, and here you can choose to use a template. So by default, there's a default template, which is very simple, but you can also configure your PDF export template. And you can choose to have a cover, table of contents, header and footer, or remove some of them, whatever fits your needs best. And then once the export is activated, it's going to produce a client-side export. But we have a moment to share differently. Okay, so here is the product. Again, by default, it's a very simple template with the pages being exported one after the other. Okay, let's go back to the, okay. Right. All right, another question that we have in the notes regarding macros that are not in XWiki. Can we replace a macro by a similar macro on all sites? Maybe an extension that goes through all the pages to replace macro A by macro B would be great. Yes, so we do understand this need. So far, we have offered this as, so there is a snippet published as a contrib snippet. We can, so it can be used. It's not necessarily, again, recommended by XWiki SIS, but it can be tested. In the scenarios where we have produced where we have migrated all the data, we did sometime replace macros with very similar ones. I don't have an example in mind right now, but yes, it can be the case, and we'll link the snippet that we're talking about. Okay, the other question, can users be imported using a full Confluence backup instead of space export? In the basic Confluence Migrator, users were not imported using space exports. If user import works, will the password be imported? Can users use their old login? Okay. So using the so yes, using the Confluence using the backup package, sorry. Using the backup package, you can import users. Passwords will not be imported. And if the user has an email address associated to it, they will be able to, no, sorry. So the users are imported, the passwords are not, and the users will have to create the password when first logging in. And if you wish to import users or not is one of the configuration that is defined here. Let's import rights, import users. So if this is set to true, all the users that are in the backup package that you're importing will be imported as well. But again, not their passwords. Okay. The 10th question that we had is how many spaces can be imported in one go? We have up to 300 plus spaces to migrate. So the tests that we did were on I think the maximum was about 5 to 6 gigabytes of data. That can be, it's not necessarily a question of the number of spaces, but how large they are. For example, in this backup package that we saw today, we have about 25 spaces, but just 680 megabytes of data. So the testing that we did was for 5 gigabytes of data in one run. It can take longer. So if the analysis step or the import takes even a few hours, that's not necessarily a warning sign. We just need to make sure that the instance is not timing out or restarting. But otherwise, it can be just left to run, and we can go back to it. So, for example, if the 300 spaces are on a total storage of 150, no, maybe that's too much. It depends on how much storage is associated with those spaces. You can also choose to migrate maybe one large space at a time and 10, 20, 30 smaller spaces. There's not necessarily a very fixed rule in this regard. What's important is that, again, we have enough memory and storage allocated to the XWiki instance, and we make sure that there's no either attachment limit set or that the XWiki instance continues to run. Okay, another question that we have, if we have to split, how can I split the export in Confluence to, let's say, 30 spaces per export, or can I upload multiple spaces and import them in one go? Yeah, so I think the previous question also is a bit related. We don't really enforce a limit for the number of spaces that you can migrate in one run. Again, our tests are with approximately 5 gigabytes of data. In that specific case, it wasn't that many spaces, but it was a couple of very large spaces. What we usually do, so when we execute a migration, we actually make a list outside of Confluence and XWiki. We make a list with the spaces, and we organize them usually by department or organization or team that is ready to migrate first. And then if we see, for example, that we have a team that is migrating and they have 20 gigabytes of data, we'll probably make 2, 3, or 4 batches, depending on the resources available on the instance. So again, unfortunately, it's not a very clear-cut question. It depends on the sizing of the instance and the type of data in spaces that you have. We have seen Confluence instances that were very small in size, probably even under 1 gigabyte, but had 50 to 100 spaces, and the other way around, instances that had 20 or 30 spaces, but 250 gigabytes of storage, usually in attachments. So in terms of how we usually proceed, we make a list with the spaces and their sizing, and decide with the client which spaces should be imported first. I hope that answers that. I'm sorry, there is not a very clear-cut answer here. The 12th question, can you tell us more about the permissions migration, what it would look like and how it maps the users and right selection section on XWiki? Yes, so as I mentioned previously, currently it's in testing, but it can be tested by anyone. The permissions are so they're first taken from the they can be taken only from backup packages, and so not from space packages. So you would need a backup file to make sure that the permissions are applied, and from that package, rights are applied to each page based on how they were found in Confluence. And they can also be mapped. Let me see if we have an example here. Yes. Okay, so first, the groups names can be mapped, same as we have for usernames. If you have, let's say, in Confluence, Confluence administrators can be mapped to XWiki admins, so you can define that in the configuration of the migration here. Or if no mapping is done, the groups are created as well. If the users don't exist yet, it's not an issue because the permissions are created as metadata in a way. So the username will be there, and when the user becomes active, those rights will be applied. So you can migrate permissions before having all the users on the platform. And one more thing that can be relevant is that you can also import only rights. So if, let's say, you have migrated data or part of it and want to migrate only the rights, you will also be able to do that with the new Permissions Migrator. Again, currently beta, I don't want to overpromise anything, but that's the main functionality. So we will apply rights per pages, trees of pages, and at the global level, both per user and per group. And if the users don't exist yet, that's in order. They can also be created. For example, if you connect with, let's say, Azure Active Directory, and the users are created when they first log in, that's in order. The permissions will be active for them from that point. Okay. Question 13. Just to confirm, if we don't buy Task Manager Pro, any task reports, inline tasks will show as unknown macro, but we could proceed with the rest of the migration. Yes, that's correct. So the Task Manager Pro is a separate application that allows you to manage tasks generally in XWiki. So that was actually initially an application used for task management in XWiki, and then it was upgraded to also support migration from Confluence. If you're migrating from Confluence and you don't have this application, the tasks, task reports, and task list will appear as unknown macros, and no other content should be affected. Just the content related to tasks or in a macro related to tasks. Question 14, are there other Confluence macros that the XWiki team is working on developing that we should keep in mind? So at the moment we have so at the moment we're not working on a new macro. We're working on improvements for the task manager to allow to add, as mentioned previously, the configuration to hide tasks from this tree, and also the configuration to create tasks either under the page where they were created in Confluence or in one main tree under Task Manager. Until the end of the year, we don't have a new macro planned for the moment. If we have a client that would like to sponsor the development of a new macro, that may be introduced, because we have the ProOps team that is working on all the Pro applications, including the Confluence Migrator. And then we have a very extensive client team, which features architects and developers, architects with 15 plus years of experience with XWiki. And they are able to develop features upon request. So if we have customers that need a certain macro to be developed right away, that would be a custom project that would be assigned to the client team, and usually once that macro is done, it will be further released in the ProOps in the Pro Macros package. So if we receive any new project in this regard, it may be the case. At the moment, for the ProOps roadmap, we don't have a new macro that we're working on. We're working on improvements for the view PDF macro, the application task, but we already mentioned it. And yeah, just some smaller, not necessarily smaller, but some generic fixes, such as the sizing of the images. Also an improvement, actually it's not considered. One macro that can be considered as new that should be done in October is the excerpt include macro. We had an old version and an alternative, but then kind of a perfect match should be released soon. But aside from the excerpt include macro, we don't really plan with the props team to develop any new macro. If we receive any questions, any requests from a client, we don't know that, unfortunately. Okay, question 15. After we finish migrating our spaces, do we need to continue paying for the Confluence Migrator Pro beyond the initial year license? No, so the Confluence Migrator Pro is intended to be used as an application that is used for a few weeks or months or up to a year, and you would not need to have a constant license for it. The Confluence Migrator Pro is kind of special in this regard because as it's an application that we don't expect users to use daily, but actually something that they use in the beginning to migrate their data and then never use it again. That's why it has this universal price compared to the other Pro apps that have a price depending on the number of users. Okay, question 16. We're using the Confluence app Comala Document Management for workflows of documents. Is there a replacement for that in XWiki? I'm not sure exactly from the top of my mind about the Comala Document Management application. In terms of a functional need, yes, we do have two applications in XWiki that can be used for managing workflows and publishing documents through a workflow. One application that can be used is the publication workflow application. This is a community extension, and it is covered by support also at the gold and platinum levels. So the publication workflow allows you to define a workflow where certain groups are contributors, moderators, publishers, viewers, and commenters. And then you can choose to create a document, assign it a certain workflow, and then send it to review or moderation, and the group that was assigned would receive the notification and would be able to take the document to the next step. And finally, the publishers can validate a document without publishing it, or publish it, and when a document is published, it can also change location. So more specifically, you can have a draft space that is maybe restricted to certain users, and then you have a space where you publish all the done documents, and that's why you can change the location of the document once it is published. So that's one option. And another application that can be used for a similar use case is the change request application. Also, a community extension supported at the gold and platinum levels. The change request is more complex than the publication workflow because it allows users to first request the creation, deletion, or changes on pages. And you can also kind of assign as reviewers certain users, not only groups, as it is for the publication workflow. Again, it's a bit more complex to both use and set up, but it allows more fine-grained, in a way, workflows to be defined. I hope that answers the question. Question 17, I imported a space and only a fraction of the pages were imported. Can you point me to the documentation on ways to address that? Here, it depends a bit if it was, so if that was with the Confluence Migrator Pro in trial mode, that would be normal because the trial mode of the Confluence Migrator Pro is limited to one space per migration and up to 30 documents per migration. So that can be one cause. If it was either a paid, so if it was a paid license for the Confluence Migrator Pro, this would be addressed to the support team. So in your instance, here you should have the report and issue option for the support team, and again, for any purchase license or support plan or support and hosting plan, they will address any issue, any application not working as expected. So if it's within a support or license plan, please don't hesitate to contact us in this manner. And finally, if it was with the old migrator, so the one that allows you to migrate one space at a time, it can be that that a lot of the pages were created with a syntax that was not supported. Unfortunately, to say exactly what's the cause, we would need to see the application that was used and also the logs of the migration. If possible, we would be happy to look into it. If you could either write us at contact@xwiki.com or schedule a call with us, we can see what's the issue in that regard. Question 18. In the old migrator, it said to only use files below 1 GB, so that is fixed now as well, it seems. No, so in the new migrator, there's no new, yeah, there's no specific limit for the backup package that is imported here. One thing that needs to be, so again, we need to make sure that we have enough memory and storage on the XWiki instance. And one other thing that we can also look into is the attachments limit. So here in content and restrictions, we need to make sure that there's no, no, sorry, not the right place. We need to make sure that we don't have a limit placed on the XWiki instance that restricts how large an attachment can be. By default, it should be 100 gigabytes, but it can also have been configured to lower than that. Just a moment to find the exact place. It's not, okay, so we'll place the link. It's not available in this instance. But in short, no, there shouldn't be a limit, especially not 1 gigabyte as it was for the old migrator. Question 19, regarding PDF export, is there already a way to migrate existing PDF export templates, which we use based on popular K15 Scroll PDF Exporter? Unfortunately, no, we don't have a default application for this. We would be happy to look into it to see how complex it would be. By default, we don't have a functionality developed for this because we did not receive the request yet, I'm afraid. But yes, it can be certainly developed upon request, and we would be happy to look into it more if you could contact us. Question 20, does the XWiki search pay attention to the permissions of the user using it? Yes, that's very important, a great mention here. So everything, not only the search, but also the navigation bar, any macro that is listing pages or tasks will take into consideration the rights that the user has. For example, that the current user has. For example, if they are searching for a page that they don't have the right to see, that page will not be shown in the search results, neither in the search suggest here or in the main search page. Sorry. Okay, so neither in the search suggest nor in here in the main search page, no matter what filters they put. Same for the navigation bar. If there is a page that is not visible to the current user, neither the link to the page will not appear. And finally, in any list macro, such as recently updated or task list. So for example, here in recently updated, if the user does not have the right to see the page, they will not see the link either. Question 21, are spaces back? I saw XWiki had moved away from using the term in favor of nested pages a while ago, so I wanted to get the terminology correct. Yes, so that's a very good question, and we don't necessarily have a how to say it, a terminology that we enforce. So for us and for the users that are using XWiki outside of the Confluence Migration use case, we do still call first level pages or parent pages or nested pages and then children pages the ones underneath. When we're discussing with potential customers or customers that have migrated from Confluence to XWiki, we use the space term more, referring to top level page to ease a bit the introduction in XWiki. So here we don't have company level decision to call them spaces. Internally, we do still refer to these as first level page or first level parent pages. And for the customers that migrate, they also have the choice to either import all of their spaces into one wiki, as we see here. They can also create multiple sub-wikis from here. And so you can create sub-wikis in the sense that you can create a wiki that will behave as a separate wiki, but will actually be hosted on the same in the same instance. And you can migrate batches of spaces there. You can also choose to remove, for example, the key and only maintain the what's the word? The well, first level page and the pages underneath. So the pages can also be moved afterwards to obtain any organization that works for the client. But yeah, to sum up, both spaces and nested pages are accepted at the moment. We know it's a bit confusing, especially when migrating from Confluence, and also because we have the concept of sub-wikis as well. Okay, thank you for the question. Question 22, are there any timelines for when we could expect the permissions migration feature to be moved from beta to recommended? It sounds very exciting. Thank you for the compliment. So it should be available this month, the latest beginning of November. As mentioned previously, most of the functionalities are available. We want to test in more edge cases and on larger sets of data and on very difficult permissions, especially inherited permissions, before recommending it. But it is something that we're currently working on right now, and we should be able to move it to recommended probably in the beginning of November, if not in the following weeks. And the same for blog posts. Okay, question 23. Is it possible to import a Confluence space or page again? If so, how is it handled? Yes, thank you for the question. I didn't mention that. So here we have two options. You can either use the same, so if let's say that you have migrated most of the data and there is one space that contains a few pages that were updated, you can actually use an export of only that space. For example, here we have an export of the CT space. And then at the import step, so while this is loading, at the import step, the XWiki will see that the page exists and will check each history entry, and if at some point it will find a new entry that doesn't exist in XWiki, it will write that. In short, it will overwrite the existing page, and this is also something that can be configured. So here, if we select only this package and we call it CT space, here we can say if we want to delete the existing document or import only the new versions. It's usually easier to just delete the existing one and import the one that we are sure that has the latest versions. And if pages that exist in XWiki and don't have any new updates are found, they will just be skipped from the import. Okay, and question 24. We've noticed in your test imports that some of the links direct back to Confluence instead of within XWiki. I think this is part of how links can be created in Confluence. There are a couple options, link to a page or link to a URL. Is there a way to check these broken links across entire XWiki instance. Yes, indeed, this is quite a common issue depending on how the links were set, and also, of course, if they're relative or absolute. There is also I know that as part of our services, we do check for broken links. I will have to search if there is any script available, and if yes, I will include it in the follow-up of this email. I would just need to check if there is a public script. But yes, indeed, it can happen, and of course the pages can be modified manually, but it's much better to have a list of all the broken links and be able to fix them or replace them as needed. Okay, I think those would be all the questions. Okay, great. Before ending, and of course hoping that the questions were addressed properly, and hoping that you receive valuable information from this webinar, we would very much appreciate if you could share your feedback regarding today's webinar at the survey link in the shared notes. Please also let us know in the same survey if you'd like to receive the presentation and the shared notes with the answers on email. And also in the same survey, you could let us know if you'd like to be contacted. If you would like to contact us later, again, we're always available at contact@xwiki.com. You can try the product for free in the cloud or on premise. And we truly hope that today was a useful webinar for you, and that you will be successful in migrating from Confluence to XWiki as quickly and seamlessly as possible. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great evening or day, depending from where you're joining, and hope to be in contact soon.